Greetings, Mind Crafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion on this very beautiful sunny day here in northern Vermont. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm your hostess with the mostest. I am so excited to talk, again about yet another way to become the boss of your brain. And today's topic is priming your day to go really, really well. So I want to start out with doing a shout out to Tony Robbins, though admittedly I have talked about priming your day quite a bit. We do that a lot in Minecraft. I was listening to him, which he's kind of sparked my interest in doing another episode on this. And so I want to start with a quote from him. I love this guy and hope to definitely, he's on my list of would love to do lunch with people. So Tony is just so incredibly positive and, walks the talk and all that good stuff. So anyway, Tony Robbins says you can prime yourself positively or negatively depending on what you allow into your mind. And this is obviously what Minecraft is all about. Is exactly this. And people just I don't know. It's simple yet not easy. We've talked about that a lot. It really is this simple. I think people often don't realize that we are the captains of our ships. We don't just start the day and or we can do it that way and throw caution to the wind. But living passively like that isn't typically in our favor at all. It's better to really grab the day by the ass by priming it with some really good stuff. So we're going to talk about that. So to begin, it's important to first acquire an understanding of what it means to be primed. And this is something we talk about. I talk a lot with my about with a lot with my cognitive psych students because and frequently through the whole semester for various reasons. So to talk about what it means to be primed or to be primed by something or someone else. So priming is something that really can be best explained with an example from the world of advertisement. I mean, as it is, uh, well, this is actually just more where it's most commonly noticed. There are a gazillion ways to prime or be primed, but the advertising world is just a super simple example. So, as an example, there we go. Immediately following an Olympics, those athletes who won medals are typically approached to be in TV commercials. I would say usually gold medals. I'm not sure. I don't pay too much attention to that. I think if you want a medal of any kind, it's phenomenal. So anyway, they're approached, to be in TV commercials, magazines, and pop-up ads on the internet. And I think back in the day, because I'm a fabulous 58. You can think of Nadia Comaneci and gosh, and it was typically, back then there were no computers, so magazines a little bit, but I would say the main sort of platform that athletes showed up on was TV. And let's say that Michael Phelps, for example, is asked, following his eighth gold medal or the other seven or whatever, is asked to do an Old Spice commercial. The very next time we go to the grocery store, pharmacy, whatever, in the hot pursuit of deodorant, we may, sort of subconsciously find ourselves grabbing that Old Spice off the shelf, and as opposed to the generic brand or whatever other brand there is. And we do this because we've been primed with repeated messages by an Olympic gold medalist that Old Spice is the number one choice. And so it gets deeper than this because that little thingy of deodorant kind of represents subconsciously now strength and athleticism, victory, attractiveness, patriotism, and the good old US of A. And none of this are we consciously thinking about. And this is because, well, priming is very, very, very unconscious. It's in what's called the implicit memory, which is unconscious or undeclared memories or non-declared memories. So this is because the brain loves patterns. The brain loves patterns, and it will latch on to whatever information is being presented to it repeatedly. And another example might be like an airbrushed magazine ad around the holiday time. And we all know what that's like. We see one ad after the other with the perfect Thanksgiving table set with white linen tablecloth, with a light white linen bleh, with a white linen tablecloth, a beautiful roast turkey done just right, and then that smiling, loving family sitting there laughing and enjoying each other's company. No one's trying to kill each other like in reality, right? So everyone looks happy and successful. And this concept of the perfect family having the perfect Thanksgiving sneaks into our unconscious as the expectation we should have for ourselves. The picture presented is that this is what everyone else does, even though perfect obviously does not exist. We've been primed to believe that this make pretend story, which is largely why so many people get freaking depressed around the holidays, right? Our primed minds measure ourselves against, this fantasy photo of perfection. And I have to say it's also important to mention that priming is processed, like I just said, within the implicit memory, which means that it's all unconscious. So if you've ever heard the phrase, it's as easy as riding a bike, then you're aware of how implicit memory works. You may have not been, or none of us, I haven't been on a bike in forever. You may have not been on a bike for years, but if you had the opportunity, you're on it, I don't know, you're camping or something, and oh, this is fun. Let's take the kids, and then you just jump right on. It's easy, right? Well, the reason you would not have to relearn this is because the memory of how to ride a bike is safely locked away in the vault of the unconscious. You don't even need to think at all because your brain knows what to do. It's kind of like an automatic pilot response, sort of in a sense. And if you want the real deets on that, little some a psychology fun fact, because I love to give people some real neuroscience, some actual content. The implicit memory and explicit memory are sort of processed in different places. So long-term memory that's explicit, the kind we can pull back, like learning the presidents in the third grade, or that vacation you went on, or whatever, is processed in the hippocampus area of the limbic system. Whereas the just like riding a bike memory, stuff you don't need to think about, is processed in a whole other area called the basal ganglia. Just giving you some stuff right there. It's a little pet peeve I have. People on their podcast sometimes are saying, oh, backed by neuroscience. And then I'm waiting, okay, where's the nugget? And there's nothing there. I think it's just like it tries to hook people, but then there's no follow through. So you just got follow through. Yay. Okay, so priming can be used in a negative way, just like with political propaganda. I mean, what's coming to my mind is the political propaganda of the worst kind was, during World War II, when, Hitler was, in charge, and the whole, Nazi regime. That's probably one of the most extreme examples I can think of, priming being used in a negative way, or in a positive way, such as conditioning our implicit memory to seek out the good things happening to us throughout the day. Once we understand the power that priming has over the mind, we can also learn to harness this power and add it to our toolbox of, cognitive ninja skills. I mean, so here's the deal. Negative emotion leads to negative experiences. No big surprise there. So there was a study done by Yale. I think Tony talks about this one too, but it's actually pretty well known. There was a study done by Yale University in 2008 where the participants were asked to hold their cup of coffee in an elevator on the way up to the lab for a certain amount of time. I think it was between something like 10 to 25 seconds area. And half of the participants were given hot coffee and the other half were given cold coffee. After arriving at the lab, participants were read the same brief scenario about a random person, and then we're asked to rate the person's personality using a questionnaire. So it's important to remember that half the group got the hot coffee, half the group got the cold coffee. Nothing else was changed. They were read the same script. So the results of the experiment were fascinating. The group of participants who were given the hot coffee for the very brief elevator ride described this random person in the scenario using positive words such as happy, social, and generous. And then this is the thing, this is the kicker. The group who was given the cold cup of coffee reported the same person as being, this rando in the scenario, as being unhappy, selfish, and irritable. So what is important to remember here again is that there's no other difference between the groups except the hot and cold coffee. So this is kind of I was going to say the proof in the pudding, but it's really the proof in the coffee. Al- Also, as priming is processed within the implicit unconscious memory, they had no idea they had been primed, which is just wild. Okay, and then we have of course, the opposite is true. Positive emotion leads to positive experiences. We know for a fact that positive people tend to be happier and healthier on all fronts. And as we, Minecrafters are well aware of at this point, as thoughts come first, followed by feelings and then behavior, positive feelings will naturally lead to positive behavior the high majority of the time. So the positive, or we would call them pro-social behaviors, we engage in with others will most often lead to more positive experiences. Here's the thing. This basic. Positivity attracts more positivity. This is how it works. So you're probably, that's all really cool and I totally get it, but how do I prime my day to be really, really good? Well, I will be happy to tell you. So, number one, we're going to start off out before we even wake up. So, people tend to just drift off to sleep without giving any thought to how they should drift off to sleep. It's just like throwing caution in the wind again, not living deliberately, living passively. So, we want to, number one, right out of the gate, begin with priming your mind as you drift off to sleep. Many people just slide off into sleep without like a plan. I don't, they just do. Living deliberately includes going to sleep deliberately, much like we do with our children when we read them a book at night. We say a good night prayer, some of us, and then gently tuck them. We gently kind of tuck them in before we kiss them good night. We have rituals, whatever your ritual is, right? Well, we need to have grown up rituals. Very, very important. It's also important to be aware of the rather obvious fact that the brain never shuts down all the way. 24/7, it is awake on some level, and thankfully, right? So when asleep, the brain is in lockdown as far as actively processing all the external stimuli coming in, right? So the limbic system, however, which is the emotional headquarters of the brain, is wide awake. This is especially true during REM sleep. I think most of us are aware that's when we dream, right? This dream state. Basically, the limbic system has been left in charge while the prefrontal cortex takes a power nap. And this is important to know because the PFC, or prefrontal cortex, is the rational part of the brain. The limbic system is all emotion. And so the PFC talks us away, like from the metaphorical edge of the limbic system, so to speak. So when that's offline, that's not great for us if we're having negative thoughts. So this isn't much different than parents leaving teenagers home alone for the weekend with no responsible adult to look after them. I just think, woohoo, having a party. It would be a total free for all. So because of this, it is essential to prime the mind prior to drifting off to sleep. We stop ourselves from allowing tomorrow. When we do so, we stop ourselves, kind of like in our tracks, from allowing the issues of tomorrow to creep in, while also telling ourselves the good things that are going to happen tomorrow. We're priming the brain literally before we go to sleep. Just while you're lying there peacefully, we can express gratitude that another gift of a new day is on its way. And in addition, we can do damage control by limiting the screen time before going to bed, preferably remaining unplugged for at least an hour before turning the lights out. So that whole screen thing is really, really important, actually. So being screen free for 2 hours before bed is ideal if you can swing it. This is because the brain cannot, just stop processing any information, that it is bringing in. Like even if what we're doing seems mindless, like if I'm watching an I Love Lucy show or something, the brain's still processing, making associations. The brain picks up a vase that's on the coffee table in one of the scenes, which brings you to the one that reminds you of your grandmother's house, which brings you to how much fun you had in the summer. Blah 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 blah. The brain just keeps doing that. The brain is awake and engaged. It needs a line to draw in the sand when the night is over and it's time to go into sleep mode. I did a bunch of podcast episodes on this actually during the coronavirus pandemic situation because people were all screwed up because we most of us were at home. Well, almost all of us were at home for part of it, and then we kind of stayed at home. And our usual cues for waking up and going to bed were all skewed. Our routines just kind of went south. So whoopsie. Anyway, that whoopsie was I mistakenly hit a button and everything went kaflooey. So anyway, all right, I'm back. So and on the other side of the go to bed draw line in the sand, right? We want to establish a solid morning routine, and every successful person, well-known person that I know anyway, and also meaning I know not just in my life, I know a lot of really successful people defined in all different ways, and the people that we can all, Google, and they every single one I've ever heard, they have a morning routine that they stick to like super glue. And each one of these, in fact, I've never heard one that didn't involve a spiritual component and a gratitude practice. And the gratitude practice can double for your spiritual component, actually. So most involve also some sort of physical movement and a healthy breakfast. Doesn't need to be healthy. I'm sorry, does need to be healthy. I was going to say it does need to be breakfast foods though. I eat like a Mediterranean. I like a, turkey sandwich in the morning with banana peppers and olives. I don't even need the bread part necessarily, but just the protein and the veggies and the oil. Love it. Okay, so here's the next one. Say thank you before you get out of bed. First, you can start by saying thank you as your first two words of the day. Think of how your day is set up to go really, really well. If the first two words you utter are thank you, I do this every day of my life before I even get out of bed. When I wake up, I look out the bay window in front of me and I say thank you out loud. And that's it, just thank you. Then when I swing myself around to get out of bed, I say thank you once again when my feet hit the floor. Even though I only say the words thank you, in my mind I'm feeling grateful that I've landed on my feet and that they work. My feet, my happy feet, that's what I call them when I say thank you. My happy feet can bring me everywhere I want to go all day long. I'm also feeling overwhelming gratitude that my vertebrae are intact, as well as the gift of this new day in general. Now, here's the thing: I'm not saying all of that. It's just thank you when I look out the window, and then thank you when I hit the floor with the feet hit the floor. That's it. No other words. And then out the door, I go to write my gratitude journal. So, which is next? Start a gratitude journal. Remember that neurons are like wayward toddlers and therefore need solid and very consistent direction in order for their behavior to be redirected from unfavorable to a new and desirable direction. We all know this with 2-year-olds. No, mine, no, me, no, this way. We have to constantly. It's not different with neurons. They're in the same place. More repetition, they figure out you're the boss. So this is all it takes is to write down 3 things each day that you are grateful for, which include the words I am grateful for. Again, this is all it takes to write down 3 things each day that you are grateful for, which include the words I am grateful for. This is essential. Those words are essential to rewire the brain for positivity. Next is heart breathing. What I have to tell you, this was new to me, and this is one borrowed from Tony Robbins. I think this is a Tony Robbins original. So place your hands on your heart and focus on the power and strength of your breath energy. It goes in and around your heart. And he does that for about 30 seconds. Visual imagery. This is also a Tony Robbins original. Well, I mean, a lot of people do it, but I think I was inspired by him since I'm talking about this now, because I do visual imagery too, and it works like a charm. They also use visual imagery a lot for sports when people get in slumps and things like that. So, they sports psychologists help people visualize things, and it works like a charm. So anyway, so Tony starts his day with this as well, and it could be as spiritual as you like to make it or not. Tony visualizes a colorful light descending upon and filling the body with healing energy. Picture this beautiful, colorful light with just gorgeous colors. Envision anything that needs healing in the mind or body, and picture these problems being washed away with this colorful light. Put the request out there to strengthen the best parts of you. And this one goes for 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then next is send the good vibes afar. This is something similar to what Tony does. I do this every day of my life. I've got a definite prayer life. So we're gonna send all this newly acquired energy to others in your life, your family, chosen family, friends, colleagues, or maybe even, a stranger you met only once. Who cares? Visualize and feel this energy going through you and extending it to others. 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's going very, very quickly. Next is to create your own win list. And this is so super important. Tony might do something similar. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't really make a difference. We're all in it to win it. The win list is not a regular to-do list, and there should be no overlap. So the win list should have 3 things on it each day that get you sort of one step closer to your heart's desire. Nowhere on this list should there be the dishes or taking out the garbage or answering emails. That you can put all that on the other list, not on this list. So these 3 goals should also be doable and something that you look forward to. You should be excited when you've completed these. And next is feel the success. Once again, we want to let the good feels in to guide the brain towards what we want more of. Focus on that good feeling of the success um, that you are achieving with creating your win list and the success of priming your day with this exercise. Feel good about taking care of yourself. This is actually something that I talk a lot with speak about with my mind crafters and also my psych students, because especially in their age range, where I think like teenagers on up through young adults in college, but there are people who don't arrive there even in their 40s, 50s, 60s and on up. And I'm not saying that with judgment. I'm just putting it out there that we're all works in progress. And this the taking care of yourself thing, it can be easier to take care of other people than ourselves, right? So when we do something good to take care of ourselves, we have the good breakfast, we write in the gratitude journal, we allow ourselves time to let the good feels in. That is a deposit in the self-esteem bank. Seriously, it might be a small step for somebody and a big step for somebody else. So be feeling good about taking care of yourself. And then the last one is set an intention and go forward. So now we want to set a simple intention that will help your day to unfold in the best way possible. Some examples are: I intend to be present as much as possible today. I intend to relax today. I intend to listen actively to anyone I speak with today. I intend to enjoy my day to the fullest. I intend for the challenging meeting I have today to go as well as possible. And one of my favorites is: I intend to bring success to everything I do today, to the best of my ability. This means that I will bring success to taking a shower mindfully, to the conversations I have throughout the day, to making dinner, and to changing our granddaughter's diaper. With this is what all of it, bringing success to work projects, whatever's as little independent segments of your day. This is how it works the best instead of thinking about the whole overall day. If you're in a conversation, be in the conversation. You changing a diaper, change a diaper. Doing a project, do a project, and focus on: I'm going to make this the best possible, well-written email I'm going to do today, whatever. And that's it. So priming your day to go really, really well. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.